what's a common thing you see in players and that don't reach their full potential?
That's a good question. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you asked
Thank
that
you.
question. That's a really good one. I've been on quite a few podcasts. Nobody ever asked me that question. Um, the younger generation now, there's a level of entitlement with a lot of the young kids, man, where everybody's being babied, everybody's being kind of coddled. And we like to call it, we give them a little early 2000s with the kids, you know what I mean? I think that's something that the parents appreciate too. Like,
Yeah.
we're not out here, abusing kids or talking crazy to them, but there's going to be accountability. There's going to be schedules. There's going to be structure.
Yeah.
There's going to be things that the kids are going to have to just, you got to answer to. And I think that's a big part of just developing them as men. And it trickles on into school. It trickles on into life. It'll trickle on into business. It trickles on into everything. So just having that accountability piece to kind of help eliminate that entitlement, which I don't know where it comes from, but it's definitely there. And then there's there's excuses for everything, and just saying like my bad and meaning it is not around anymore. It's always something else.
No accountability.
So we just try to address that in different ways, because I feel like every individual has to receive it in a different way. I can't have a cookie cutter mentality I think is going to work on every kid. It doesn't work that way. Everything's kind of individualized, and I think those kids, we get to read their personalities from them being around us, and we kind of can address them in a way that works. Like some kids, they respond better to being yelled at. Some kids, you got to have a Phil Jackson approach, and some kids, you can have a Bobby Knight, John Chaney approach. So it just depends on the kid.
When you see a kid that's not taking accountability, especially after you've kind of like told them what's right and they don't take accountability, in the back of your head, are you kind of just like, all right, you don't have a chance. Like you're not coachable.
You're right. They'll achieve some things,
Right.
and they might even be a good high school player. But I can see things in kids that they don't see in themselves. Like I know if you have an opportunity to make it, because of my experience, and I just need that trust, man. With like the Sixers, when they say trust the process, it might not seem like it's gonna you're gonna be that player that you envision yourself to be right away. But if you just trust the process and chip away piece by piece, and we like to say like one brick a day to build that foundation, they'll eventually get to where they need to be. So that trust is important to in us, from the parents and from the kids in the program. And I think once that trust is established, like we've rarely ever come across a kid that continued to not really go in the direction we needed them to go after we addressed it, because they'll feel the love. They know that we're coming from a place where we want them to succeed, and once you establish that, it's easier for the kids to kind of believe you and rock with you and run through a wall for you.